Hi, everyone. Good evening, and welcome back to week 3 of the Natural Grocers Live Keto Reset class series. If you haven't met me yet, my name is Erin Dahl, and I am a registered dietitian as well as the Senior Nutrition Education Specialist here at Natural Grocers, and I am your host throughout our series. And we are so excited to have you join us today for yet another fun educational class led by our nutritional health coaches. So this week is super exciting because we will be putting it all together and we're going to talk about how to launch into keto the right way. But before we dive into our presentation, if this is your first time joining us this evening, we just have a few announcements before we begin. So there will be a live question and answer panel immediately following our class today. So if you'd like to have your questions answered, please feel free to stick around for that. And if you'd like to submit a question, please do so in the YouTube chat pane provided. Of note, you do have to be watching the class on YouTube to be able to use the chat pane. So if you're watching through the Natural Grocers website, you'll notice that there's not a chat pane provided. So if you want to go ahead, if you're watching from our website and you want to transition to YouTube, all you have to do is click on the link that's located at the top of the video that you're watching. It's the title of the class and it's next to our Natural Grocers logo. And then it will go ahead and transition you over to YouTube. And then you'll be able to use the chat pane. And then finally, all questions will be held until the end and asked during our Q&A session. All right, so that's it for announcements, and we're going to go ahead and jump right into our material. So guiding us through week 3 today, I have the pleasure of introducing Dawn Franz, who is the NHC at our Colorado Springs, Colorado store. Dawn holds a Bachelor of Nutritional Sciences from the University of Arizona, and she completed a dietetic internship from the University of Houston. She has been an employee of Natural Grocers since 2003 and says she has grown up with the company. Dawn began in 2005 as the NHC for the Pueblo location. She then moved to the Colorado Springs Natural Grocers store in 2007 and is happy to make this her home store. Dawn is an excellent resource for those seeking improved health and well-being in the Colorado Springs community. And when not in the Natural Grocers store, you can find her hiking, camping, and keeping up with her 3 kids. Dawn, thank you so much for joining us this evening. We're really excited to hear what you have for us. Please go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, Erin, for that introduction. Hello, everyone. How are you? Thanks for being here with me tonight. I'm grateful to work for a great company like Natural Grocers and to be a part of this Keto Reset series. The first week, we got to learn how to get our bodies ready for keto by cleaning up our diet. The second week, we looked at healthy lifestyle factors and habits that'll help us transition into keto, like a balanced exercise program, healthy sleep, or stress management skills. And this week, this is the third week, and it's our week to launch into keto the healthy way. All right, thanks for letting me bring up my slides here. I hope you are enjoying your 21-day metabolic reset if you're trying the Paleo Primal aligned eating and reaping those sought-after benefits of more energy, better brain function. We all need that, right? More importantly, through that diet, you'll work towards metabolic flexibility. In this class, we will talk about how to determine if you're ready to launch into keto. And if you're following along in the Keto Reset book by Mark Sisson, we will cover the midterm exam through to chapter 12. We will also review the primary differences in the primal and paleo way of eating versus a ketogenic eating pattern. And then we're going to finish up with a discussion on how great it can be to embrace healthy fats. Before we jump right into how to launch into keto, though, let me read a quick disclaimer. So this class is not intended to diagnose, treat, or mitigate any disease. And dietary supplements as well as foods can interact with prescription medications. So if you are taking some prescription meds, make sure that you're informed about any possible interactions. So the goal of the 21-day metabolic reset is designed to help you break free from carbohydrate dependency and get your body ready to transition into going keto. And you might find that keto is not for you, and that's really totally okay, because no matter what diet you're following, it's important to really always be your own health advocate and also be realistic about where you are on your health journey and what diets are going to be supportive for your health. So listening to your body is really important. But just by implementing the dietary changes that you needed to accomplish to stick with the 21-day metabolic reset, you are benefiting your health now and in the future. So when you eliminate the big three, grains, sugar, and unhealthy oils, you are still supporting the health of your body in a variety of ways. You can gain healthy blood sugar balance, which is one of the best gifts you can give your body, right? Which in turn will help support healthy modulation in the body by balancing hormones and inflammatory markers. Also, you get the nice side effect of healthy weight maintenance and balanced appetite. We all need that. We want to eat healthy, right? But it's really hard when we're always hungry to stick to a healthy diet. And let's not forget healthy hormone levels. So eating to balance blood sugar can really support healthy insulin levels and healthy cortisol levels, which can control and balance stress markers in the body, as well as other health markers. However, if you are decided that you are a keto rock star and you're ready to turn it up a notch, then today's class will help you truly determine if you're ready to jump into keto. We will also provide an overview of the diet to help you achieve keto success. Going gradually into keto really support an easier transition for you. You'll feel better. Hopefully you won't end up with as many of the keto flu symptoms. You'll have better energy. And it's important to make some final preparations just to make sure that you're ready before you leap right into keto. So let's take some time today to review the midterm exam in the book, The Keto Reset Diet. And this is going to be on page 146 if you haven't got there yet. It asks a series of questions to get you thinking about and to kind of determine whether you're ready. So I'm going to list a couple of the questions so that you can think about them right now. So one of them is, have you completely eliminated sugars and grains from your diet? So even natural stuff like honey and agave. Are you eating 150 grams of carbs a day or less? Do you know if you're eating 150 grams of carbs? Are you tracking it all? Another one was, are you managing stress expertly? Are you including daily movement, practicing mindfulness and gratitude? Have you taken the steps needed to support a healthy sleep routine? We talked about that last week, all the things that you can do to help support better sleep. Also, are you free from blood sugar crash and burn episodes where you end up with intense sugar cravings, those ones where you really can't avoid those donuts in the break room or other sweet treats? Or do you have afternoon sleepiness after 2 hours after lunch? You're just really feeling that afternoon low. Hopefully you're not. So these are the questions to kind of ask yourself. So on this exam, you will score yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 based on how closely you're able to comply with these questions. And then you add up all your points. So with the exam, out of a possible 120 points, you must score at least 90, meaning you must score a 75% or better to indicate that you're ready to go forward with a period of nutritional ketosis. Ideally, you're going to make that commitment for 6 weeks. So if you don't pass, don't worry. Just go back into week 3 mode of the 21-day metabolic reset And you can hang out there for an additional 2 or 3 weeks and then go ahead and test again and see if you're ready. And you want to do this because your keto commitment is significant. You're spending time, energy, and money. So you want to make sure that you're on top form before you go all in and that you get the most out of your efforts. But once you have passed that midterm exam, that's a really good indication that you can confidently embark on a diet to induce nutritional ketosis. However, before you do, there are a few things to consider that I wanted to review with you. And these are not anything you just need to be aware of what some individuals may require medical or nutritional oversight before starting a ketogenic diet. So these individuals would be people that are women that are pregnant or breastfeeding, children or teenagers, unless they're under the guidance of a trained professional. People with impaired fat digestion or liver disease need to check with their doctor because you are eating more fat, so that's going to affect how you feel, of course. Those with adrenal fatigue. When you start into a ketogenic eating pattern, it can sometimes affect cortisol levels, and so it may be harder for you to feel great and to transition in a healthy way. People that are trying to gain weight or have a hard time keeping weight on, keto might make it more difficult since it is a diet that can definitely help you lose weight or maintain your weight. People with thyroid conditions need to check with their doctor. If you have an eating disorder, it's a good idea to kind of check with your physician. Type 1 diabetics or type 2 diabetics on insulin. And then people that are taking prescription medications, especially insulin, should really work with their doctor to monitor doses, since a ketogenic diet can cause significant shifts in body chemistry like insulin and glucose, and that can impact certain medications. So we want to be smart about this. And if any of the above apply to you, please be sure to have a conversation with your doctor about whether or not the ketogenic diet is right for you at this time, or to see if additional monitoring is necessary while you embark on your keto journey. So that said, now we're gonna take a look at paleo primal diet versus keto diet and talk about some of the differences and some of the similarities. Well, ideas about keto can lead you to believe that a keto diet is all about butter and bacon. And some people do, that's what they think of. But really, it's quite the opposite. It can be a healthy ketogenic diet where you put an emphasis on whole, real foods, plenty of healthy fats, quality protein, and tons of nutrient-dense low carbohydrate veggies. So from the first week when we talked about primal paleo eating, this does kind of sound familiar, right? So a healthy ketogenic diet eating pattern can definitely be similar to a primal paleo way of eating, and it's really going to help you get the most out of it. You're going to feel better, have that energy that you need, and get all the nutrients you need to keep going. You can see the pictures there of the different diets and the little meal wheels to kind of show you the portions of each diet. Both diets eliminate grains and sugars and sweetened beverages because those really are problematic for blood sugar. Both diets include lots of brightly colored, low-carb, non-starchy veggies. So this is where you're getting all your nutrition, you're getting your fiber. These are veggies like broccoli and cauliflower rice, it's fun. Cucumber, you can always make cucumber noodles, zucchini, cabbage, leafy greens, bell peppers. So that's just to name a few. But in the paleo diet, we are eating starchy veggies, right? We can eat sweet potatoes, squashes, and we're eating fruit in the primal paleo diet. But with a ketogenic diet, you want to leave out those starchy veggies because they may just be too high in carbohydrate when we're wanting to keep our carbs at a lower level. You might be able to include some berries or some lemon and lime juice on the ketogenic diet, though. So in keto, you must also be selective with incidental carbs from things like nuts, nut butters, seeds, dark chocolate, and coconut milk. Well, you can totally have these things, and they're a treat on the ketogenic diet. Just be careful because their carb content can start to add up. When you go keto, you want to get enough protein, but not too much. For protein sources, just like with paleo and primal eating, a ketogenic diet can include quality proteins coming from naturally raised animals. But with keto, you want to focus on proteins that also contain healthy fats. So like wild-caught fish, like salmon, tuna, sardines, organic meats with higher fat content, like organic naturally raised pork, or chicken with the skin on, for another example. In paleo and primal eating, you use healthy fats to cook with and to garnish your food. So you're getting used to that already. But in ketogenic eating, a larger portion of your diet will come from foods high in natural nutritious fat. So you can really be generous with your salad dressing, make it from olive oil or avocado oil, and make sure to have healthy fats in each meal by cooking with them and making them a part of the menu, and even for snacks if you need them. I love just having a half of an avocado with some Himalayan sea salt on it for a snack on keto. Once you're hitting your goals then for carbs and protein, you can eat healthy fats to satiety. So make sure you have plenty of healthy fats on hand, in your pantry at home, in your purse or your bag that you take to work, so you have those snacks. And these things are going to be like nuts and seeds, nut butters, high-fat plants like coconut milk or coconut manna, avocados, avocado oil, olives, olive oil. And then you can include, if you're doing dairy, high-fat dairy products like raw milk, organic cheese, cottage cheese, heavy cream in your coffee, as well as including those fats from the meats that you're eating, fatty fish, chicken and eggs. So similar to paleo and primal eating, these should preferably be good quality, pasture raised, and organically sourced to maintain total health. So while in keto, as you can kind of look at the pie chart, 65 to 75% of your calories are going to come from fats. But really, you don't have to get too overwhelmed by these percentages. I'm just kind of giving you a visual. That's really where a good tracking app can come in handy, so you don't have to worry about counting and figuring out percentages. The Keto Reset Diet book also has a 21-day keto meal plan and recipes that will help you to get into this zone. So there's really yummy recipes, like for breakfast, there's egg muffin cups in ham cups. Or chia pudding made from full-fat coconut milk. That's like my favorite, really. I love it for breakfast or for a snack. For lunch, maybe leftover salmon on top of a huge salad with a half an avocado. Also throw some nuts in there if you want. And then for dinner, slow cooker carnitas on top of lettuce or cabbage leaves. All this food talk is making me hungry. Is it making you guys hungry? I hope so, because the food can be really delicious on a keto diet. And if you follow Mark Sisson's keto meal plan in the book, you can try some fasted mornings too. He kind of suggests every 3 to 4 days using like a bulletproof coffee or just fasting with fluids. So in addition to choosing healthy keto-aligned foods, it's important to make a sincere commitment to limit your gross carbohydrates to 50 grams per day or 20 grams if you're inactive. Additionally, your protein should be limited to 1 gram per kilogram body weight. For most, that's a little bit less than you normally eat if you're following a paleo primal plan. But if you really want to, and it's going to be a little bit different for everyone. So if you want to dive deeper into the details of how to determine your individual keto macronutrient goals, like your carbs, your proteins, and your fats, I suggest check out his book. He's got a calculation sheet to figure that out. And also join your local store's week 3 virtual keto community support group. You'll get to discuss how to figure that out, and you'll also get to discuss types of foods to include in a keto diet so that you will be all set to shop and meal prep for the week. So your first stint into keto is going to be at least 6 weeks. But overall, for the long term, cycling in and out of keto is actually recommended. So that leads me to my next point I wanted to discuss today. Once you have finished your initial 6 weeks of ketogenic eating to boost your mitochondrial health and become keto adapted, what do you do then? While it is entirely possible to undergo sustained nutritional ketosis, this may be difficult to sustain over longer periods of time for most, and it may be counterproductive for some people, like athletes, especially when they're training for a competition, or females with thyroid abnormalities or other hormonal sensitivities. Another long-term keto strategy that you can employ or consider is keto cycling. So following your initial 6-week stint into keto, you can slide back into more of a primal paleo way of eating. So you would gradually then increase your carbs from wherever you were at 20 or 50 grams, and then you kind of gradually inch up to 100 to 150 grams per day and maintain a diet that's more paleo and primally aligned. So then you're going to still get those benefits of being metabolically flexible, balanced blood sugar, modulating inflammation by sticking with that type of diet. So then once you're back to kind of more of a normal paleo primal diet, then you can use your keto skills as a strategy, like that you can refer back to anytime you feel like you need a metabolic tune-up. So you can cycle in and out. And according to Mark Sisson, this cycling in and out, though, doesn't give you a hall pass to go out, go crazy, and eat a hot fudge sundae, though. So still keep it within reason. Maybe you do want to do keto annually, or you want to do it quarterly as a strategy to help maintain metabolic flexibility. And overall, if you think about mimicking our ancestral eating patterns, our bodies would have had to adapt to this feast or famine cycling. So whether you're following primal paleo or ketogenic eating patterns, both diets place a large emphasis on healthy fats, right? Even saturated fats. So that said, it's important to not fear fats. And it's time to make fat your friend. So contrary to popular belief, fats are absolutely necessary to support optimal health in a number of ways. Fats can supply the body with clean burning energy. So it leaves your antioxidant reserve since you're not having to clean up that mess. Fats serve as building blocks for cell membranes and hormones like estrogen and testosterone, even cortisol. So supporting, healthy cortisol levels, we usually suggest eating healthy fats. And our brain is 60% fat. So as you're aging and you really want to maximize your brain function, make sure you're eating healthy fats. Fats support satiety and they help us to feel fuller longer. So then we're not craving sweets, right? Fats also carry some pretty important fat-soluble vitamins, like vitamin A and D, to help you absorb them into the body. Vitamin E and K also. In addition, fats contain compounds like butyric acid that has been shown to support healthy immune function. Butyric acid is found in butter and ghee. And I'm not talking about any old fat here. I'm only talking about healthy fats, such as organic butter, coconut oil, palm oil, olive oil, avocado, sesame oil, cream, and fats that are coming from meats from naturally raised animals. Now, a lot of those fats that I listed were saturated fats. So right now, you might be thinking, hey, wait about, aren't we supposed to avoid saturated fats? Well, when it comes to saturated fat, most of us grew up being told that foods like red meat, eggs, and bacon raise our cholesterol levels, and we want to be heart smart. But this idea is so deeply ingrained in our cultural psyche that few people even question it, right? We just believe it. But is it really true? Is the research out there really supportive of this hypothesis? In reality, eating saturated fat is not damaging to the heart or the vascular system. and it does not cause heart disease. And overall, current research also does not support recommendations to reduce total fat or saturated fat. It is true, though, that in some studies, they showed that saturated fat intake raises blood cholesterol levels, but these studies are almost always short-term, lasting only a few weeks. When you look at longer-term studies, those have not shown any association between saturated fat intake and cholesterol levels. In fact, all of the long-term studies examining this issue, only one of them showed a clear association between saturated fat intake and cholesterol levels, and even that association was weak. So don't take my word for it, do some research, but saturated fat has many health benefits as long as the quality is high and the fats are not damaged by frying. Saturated fatty acids are actually the preferred fuel for the heart too. So that's why you find a lot of saturated fat around the heart muscle. It's actually there for energy production. We have a lot of mitochondria in the heart to help it do what it does, to pump and fill. And so the mitochondria are burning those fats. So in studies where people eliminate simple carbs, right, and increase saturated fat from healthy sources, they see a decrease in LDL and an increase in HDL, or protective cholesterol. So with all that in mind, the question we have to ask ourselves, is saturated fat the culprit, or is it excess carb and sugar consumption that's detrimental to healthy heart function? When we have high sugar and carb consumption, we have higher insulin levels, and we have other inflammatory markers and high glucose levels that can be problematic, right? Moreover, studies show that a ketogenic eating pattern can actually be supportive for cardiovascular health. For example, in one study, a ketogenic diet for 6 weeks supported healthy blood lipid levels. This was in normal weight healthy men. And specifically, the keto diet supported normal levels of triglycerides and LDL cholesterol, as well as HDL cholesterols. So fats, I know, can be a really confusing topic, but when you're undergoing a ketogenic diet, it's important to understand that fats, even saturated fats, are not bad. We do have some really great information and resources available at the store to help you answer any questions you have on healthy fats. So you can connect with your local nutritional health coach at your local natural grocers to get a copy of these customer literature files if you're interested. They're great. They're all on saturated fat. The first one's entitled, "Could It All Be a Big Fat Mistake?" by Jack Challam. And the other one is "Fat is Your Friend." So those are available to you next time you're in shopping at one of our stores. We also have some great resources in the book section. These are just a few of them, but the book Fat for Fuel by Dr. Joseph Mercola is a great one to give you research and also kind of give you some more ideas and information. We do have the Keto Reset Diet by Mark Sisson for sale in our stores. And then Mark Hyman has a great book called Eat Fat, Get Thin. It's a great one to check out. Well, thank you guys so much. It's been great tonight. Your time and attention and spending this time with me. I'm going to go ahead and hand it back over to Erin at this point.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Dawn. I think everyone was saying in the chat, Fane, that they started getting really hungry as well when you were going over the slide between paleo and keto. And I know it definitely made me hungry, and I really want chia seed pudding now, as does everyone else. So thank you for that. And I think it's definitely safe to say we learned a lot this evening. Before we head to the question and answer, just a reminder that following the class today, you also have the opportunity to attend one of our local community support groups. So for those of you who are already attending these sessions, we hope that you're enjoying them. I see that a lot of you are per the chat pane, and we hope that you're finding it to be a great opportunity to connect online with a local nutritional health coach, get some of those questions answered that you have, and also connect with your local keto community. If you haven't had a chance to attend one of these support sessions and you would like to, there is a separate sign up on our website for these sessions that you must complete in order to be able to attend one of them. So to make it easier for you, someone from our admin team will go ahead and drop that link to sign up in the YouTube chat pane provided. So be on the lookout for that if you're interested in attending one of those support sessions. All right, so enough with announcements. We're gonna go ahead and transition here and take some time now to answer questions from those of you at home. So I'm gonna go ahead and have our panelists turn on their cameras and get ready to say, give a wave so everyone can put a name to a face. So I'll introduce our panel right now. So of course we have Dawn Franz, who is the NHC at our Colorado Springs, Colorado.
Hi guys.
We also have Kathy Millington, who is the NHC at our Lincoln, Nebraska store. Kathy is a registered dietitian, and she has a Bachelor of Science degree in dietetics from the University of Nebraska, Lincoln, and she completed her dietetic internship at the University of Iowa. Kathy enjoys educating people on how to use nutrition to support their health through free nutrition coaching sessions, nutrition presentations, and visiting with customers in the aisles of natural grocers in Lincoln. So thanks for joining us, Kathy. And then finally, we have Kim Zinsoon, who is the NHC at our Tucson, Arizona store. She was just telling us how lovely the weather is down there. So glad you're getting to enjoy that sunshine. Kim graduated from the University of Arizona in Tucson, Arizona with a Bachelor's of Science in Nutritional Sciences. She on health and wellness, and to support them in making healthy, positive lifestyle changes for themselves and their families. Additionally, while she was in the Marine Corps, Kimberly acquired a passion for fitness, and when she is not in a natural grocer's store, you can find her at the CrossFit gym or enjoying a long run. So thank you all for joining us. We've got a lot of really great questions this evening. So we'll go ahead and get started with our first question. And this one's more of a fun one. So Dawn, you talked a lot about, what a keto way of eating looks like. And I think we'll just kick it off with, what is your favorite keto aligned meal that you eat yourself or you often recommend to people first starting out with keto?
Well, I almost gave it away when I was talking, but I didn't. I love taco night. My family, that's our favorite. So slow cooker carnitas, all I have to do is just use lettuce leaf or cabbage leaves and yummy fun toppings like cilantro, avocado, guacamole, radishes. So I love that I can still have tacos on keto.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm not eating beans or rice, but yeah.
We're definitely going to make everyone more hungry. Kicking off with this question. Any thoughts from Kim or Kathy? Go ahead, Kim. I think I saw your hand raised.
Yeah, so mine is more of a snack than a meal, but I think that's really, it's also very important when jumping into, the keto pool, especially with, sometimes still having those cravings. I think making sure that we have those high-fat keto snacks available. So mine is the blue cheese bacon balls in the the Keto Reset Diet Cookbook. Those guys are to die for. So if you love blue cheese and you love bacon, it makes a lot of them. So you can just pop them in the fridge or pop them in your bag and then literally just pop them in your mouth throughout the day.
Oh, wow. That sounds absolutely amazing. I think everyone's going to be buying that book now. Awesome. Well, thank you. And Kathy, any thoughts?
Yeah, mine would be the skin on, bone in chicken thighs, just baked in the oven with seasoning, and a bunch of broccoli with melted butter. And after having to eat boneless, skinless chicken breast for a long time, due to thinking that you have to eat low fat, it tastes so good to eat the real stuff with the skin on. So that would be my favorite.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. Once you have that, you never want to go back. Or if you do go back, you just want to smother it in a nice fatty sauce. So awesome. Well, thank you so much for that. We'll go ahead and move on to our next question. So this person asked, I've been trying to get my ketones up. Do you have any suggestions for how to do this? So some individuals provided some suggestions in the chat pane, like using MCT oil and maybe exogenous ketones. What are your thoughts on this and any other ideas?
So I really like the idea of using MCT oil or even coconut oil, which is naturally high in MCTs, because MCT oil is a special kind of fat that when you burn that for energy, it more readily produces ketones than when you burn other types of fats for energy. And, these things may be beneficial to brain health and healthy memory. So that's why I like those.
Yeah, I love that idea, and I love that explanation of MCT oil and how it's more readily used for energy and ketone production in the body. So thanks for adding that little tidbit in there. Dawn, go ahead.
You can also use BHB, which stands for beta hydroxybutyrate. We have it some really tasty like powders that you can add to water and just sip on throughout the day. But those are exogenous ketones. You can use that to help transition into keto, and you can also use that after you've already converted into being fat adapted. It helps with as a pre-workout for some people, or just kind of giving that energy. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and thank you so much for bringing that point up. That actually was another question that we had, which was, what are some good ideas for exogenous ketones? So do you have any products that you would recommend?
We have two. Oh. Go ahead, Kim, if you want to.
Oh, thanks, Dawn. I was just going to say I definitely agree with Kathy that for all of the reasons that she said, I really like MCT oil. I like it also because it's so versatile, and you can add it to a smoothie. You can add it to your coffee. They have flavored ones. I think the Now brand makes like a hazelnut and a vanilla and a chocolate version. So they taste really yummy in coffee. So that's my favorite.
Yeah, I love all of those ideas. So thanks so much for adding that in there. We definitely have a lot of great products, and if you are interested in learning more, you can always just head into the store, and any of our vitamin staff as well as the health coaches would be able to direct you to those products. So thank you. So moving right along, this person's saying that they've been keto for about a month. Is there any guidance on how to introduce some healthy carbs, maybe like sweet potatoes, before a long run? So this person is likely an athlete, and they're just kind of wondering how many carbs can they add in without messing it up. And usually they've been tracking about 20 net carbs lately. Any thoughts on that one?
Well, I would say that there really is no right or wrong answer here as to how many carbs to add. It's really going to depend on the person. Generally speaking, the more physically active you are, the more carbs that you can consume while still being in ketosis. It sounds like you're kind of on the lower end of your carb intake at 20 grams. And if you're, really, running, that's a very strenuous activity. If you're going for a long run, I think it is a good idea to experiment with adding some carbs in. I mean, I can only suggest, experimenting. Maybe try, if you want to do sweet potato, try like a half of a big sweet potato, or maybe a small sweet potato, and just kind of see how your energy level is during and after your run. If you're feeling good, that's a good sign that your body was well fueled. If you're just not feeling good, you might need to maybe adjust it some more.
Yeah, I think all of those are really, really great points. It really comes down to experimenting a bit and figuring out, what's best for your body. I know Mark Sisson, when he was here visiting and he did a presentation for us, he mentioned eating the sweet potato, the evening before to make sure you're getting your glycogen stores kind of fueled up. If you're, running and working out that next morning. And then I think it's a common misconception that, athletes, can't have as much carbs, but a lot of times if you are an athlete that works out strenuously, you can usually have a little bit more carbohydrates and be more liberal with that and still stay in ketosis. But really it is just kind of experimenting with it and seeing what works best for you. So any other thoughts from anyone else before we move on? Go ahead, Dawn.
Oh, I just wanted to say that might be a chance to use some berries too. Try some blueberries, raspberries, and they're a little bit lower carb, but still yummy little carbs to boost with.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for adding that in there. Okay, so we'll go ahead and move on because we've got lots of questions this evening. So this person asked, what do you consider being in ketosis when testing blood levels? And I'll just go ahead and kick this one off. Mark Sisson talks a lot about this on his blog. He talks a lot about measuring ketones, and really what he mentions is that on a typical keto diet, you might be anywhere from 0.3 to around 2 millimoles. And so when we're talking about things like ketoacidosis, you're really at a much higher ketone level, and that's not what we're doing when we're going into nutritional ketosis. So I highly encourage you to read that blog if you're interested in learning more about, what levels to shoot for. But I think this leads into another really good question, which a lot of people have, is how do I know if I'm in ketosis or not? Is ketone testing worth it? What do you guys think about that? Yeah, go ahead, Kim.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you could see me.
It's hard to see your hands right now.
So I think that ketone testing can be worth it, especially during the initial stages when you're really, questioning, like, am I making ketones? I think that there is some debate whether, about their efficacy, especially like urine testing strips. But there is also the breath testing and blood testing that is a little bit more accurate. The one thing to keep in mind, though, is that that really helps us to determine if we're producing ketones, but not if we, how well our body is utilizing those ketones. So that's why I say that it can be helpful in the beginning stages. Ultimately, I think that really listening to your body is the best way to know if you're in ketosis or you're getting the results that you're looking for. How is your focus? How is your cognition, your memory recall? How are your clothes fitting? Are you still, feeling those blood sugar swings and cravings, or are you going longer and longer without even getting hungry and not even realizing that you are getting hungry? Just a personal story. I remember, my years ago when our keto class first started and I was trying it out for the very first time. I was talking to a customer and they were asking me questions, and just I feel like all of the information I had ever learned was at the tip of my tongue, like it was on the tip of my brain, like oh, so this is what clarity feels like. This must be ketosis. So just looking for those physical signs, I think ultimately is going to be what'll help you to be successful with knowing you're in ketosis.
Yeah, I think that's a great piece of advice, is kind of listening to more of those subjective feelings, alongside objective, but maybe objective isn't as important as you were kind of saying. Any other thoughts on that as I kind of get our next question ready? Feel free to unmute if you'd like to add anything. Yeah, go ahead, Dawn.
And actually, if you have like a low ketone reading, it might be a good sign. It might be a good sign that your body's using those ketones for energy. So that's ideal, right, too. So don't be discouraged if once you feel like you're already keto adapted and your ketone readings are lower than they were before, that may actually be a good thing.
Yes, great input on that. Okay, so moving along, this question's actually about potassium. So this person is asking, what's a good way to get enough potassium if I'm not getting enough from veggies? They have a really hard time eating a lot of veggies. So any other ideas for them?
Well, there are supplements that you can do. You can do potassium supplement, and you could also do electrolytes. Sometimes electrolyte supplements will be high in potassium as well. It can still be a challenge, though, because usually potassium supplements, they don't go that high in their milligrams. So ultimately, it is the best if you can try to find ways to get more greens in, maybe even doing like a greens powder to add to a smoothie or to add into other foods.
Yeah, I love that idea of a greens powder. Often I forget about those, but that's a great suggestion. So I love that. Dawn, go ahead.
Oh, one of my favorite things to try is celery juice. Celery juice is super high in potassium. The Evolution juices that we sell, there's 5 grams of carbs, but there's like over 900, like almost 950 milligrams of potassium in them. Or you could do like celery yourself and kind of put it in a blender and use the juice. But celery, good source of potassium.
That's a great suggestion. I love that. And yeah, those celery juices are really good. So, and we've got some good options for that. Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you for answering that question. Our next question is regarding fat intake. So in the slide, you talked a little bit about, what a recommended carbohydrate and protein intake is, but what amount of fat is recommended daily? Any thoughts on that? Yeah, so go ahead, Dawn.
Well, it's going to be a little bit different for everyone. And so if you do put in your biometrics into like a tracking tool, you can get sort of a goal, but it's really just listening to your body and to eat fat until you feel full. And if you're hungry, that would be what you use to eat more of. You don't necessarily have to hit a goal marker for fat. Especially if you're wanting to lose weight or maintain your weight. So just listen to your body, eat fat to satiety, and you don't necessarily have to worry about it too much. Like if at the end of the day you haven't met your fat marker on your tracking tool, but you're not hungry, then you don't have to eat anymore.
Yeah, I think those are all good points that you mentioned. And again, it really comes down to experimenting and just making sure you're eating to satiety and enough to feel satiated and full. Any other ideas on that one? Go ahead, Kim.
Yeah, just going off of what Dawn said, I have a lot of experience with people who, when using those tracking devices, and they're not hitting their mark with the fat intake, and by the end of the day, they're just trying to find, like butter, oil, like shoving fat in their face, and it's like, no, you don't have to hit that marker. Just work on getting it in, take that, look at your macronutrient intake and say, maybe I didn't hit my marker today. Let's try something different tomorrow, maybe add in more fats with my meals throughout the day, but you don't have to worry about hitting that marker and eating a ton of fat at the end of the night.
I think that is an especially important point that you made. So thanks for adding that in there. I think this is really important to just listen to your body, and you definitely start to learn that skill as you go through keto. So thanks for adding that in there. So with that question on fat, we also got a question on the recommended amount of protein. So specifically, this person is asking, would you clarify on the amount of protein recommended? So we said 1 gram per kilogram body weight. So exactly, what does this mean if we're talking pounds? And then any other recommendations for, figuring out protein? Go ahead, Kathy.
Okay, so this is one of those things that if you love math, you can definitely figure this out yourself. If you don't, that's totally okay. Just use one of the tracking apps and it can figure out for you how many grams of protein you should have per day. But if you do like math, basically we're saying 1 gram of protein per kilogram body weight. So how do you find your weight in kilograms? You take your weight in pounds and divide by 2.2. So as an example, if you are a 150-pound person, divide 150 by 2 or 2.2. I hope I said that right before. Divide by 2.2, and you get, oh good, you get 68. So if you weigh 150 pounds, your weight is 68 kilograms. So that would be 68 grams of protein per day. So there you go.
Awesome. Thanks so much for adding that in there. Yeah, it's definitely helpful if you are a math person. But if you're not, that's another reason to join a keto community support group too, because they're going to go over those calculations more in depth. So it's really a good opportunity for you to just have some additional time to really work through those and think about them. So Dawn, I saw your hand go up. Would you like to add to that?
Yeah, in the Keto Reset diet book, Mark Sisson does talk about calculating that too on page 154 if you want to check that out, and he'll help you figure it out on your own as well.
Perfect. Well, thank you. So we're going to move on to, go ahead, Kim. Did you want to add to that one?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that keep in mind that that's like a guideline, right? And every person is going to be different and our requirements are going to be different. So that's a good place to start, but don't feel like if you're not seeing the results that you want or meeting your goals, that might be something that you could tweak, either going up a little bit or down a little bit and seeing how your body responds.
Perfect. Thank you. I love that suggestion. And so we're going to move on to a different area or a different topic. This is kind of going back to athletes. This person says they're an athlete and they have hormone issues, but they'd love to try this cycling concept that we talked about tonight. But they're kind of wondering, how often and when. Any thoughts around that, maybe specifically thinking through the lens of someone who's athletic? Go ahead, Dawn.
Maybe playing around with it when you're on your off season or when you're not really in the heat of training for an event is best to kind of see how your body performs on the keto diet so that you know whether it's good for you. But yeah, so just not when you're like ready to go into that competition. And if it works, then fine. Yeah, there's many athletes that do use keto diet, but it's really just taking that experimentation to find out.
Yeah, I think that's great input. And I think it definitely depends on the type of activity that you're doing as well. Kim, did you want to add to that? Go ahead.
Yes, thanks. So I was also going to say that it kind of depends on the person too. Definitely, on your off season, if this is kind of the first time you're trying out keto and working your way through that first 6 weeks. But the nice thing about keto is that it helps us to become metabolically flexible, right? So that when we do cycle on and off, it's easier for us to really be able to just jump right back into it. And our body remembers how to utilize fat for fuel. So for some people, it's, once a month. For some people, it's, once a year. really just whenever you want that metabolic tune-up. And with hormone issues specifically, I think it depends on your hormone issues and working around that, because sometimes, cycling or increasing carb intake, throughout the week also can be recommended in some circles. So I think it really depends on the hormonal issues at play, and really working with like a medical professional or a nutritional health coach on a one-on-one basis to really fine tune what cycling would look like for you.
Yeah, I love that. That's all great input. And yeah, it really is just going to depend. And so getting that additional help as you kind of navigate this can be really helpful. Okay, so we've got a couple of minutes left, so I think we'll try to get 2 more questions in if we can. This one is more of a product grocery question. So this person says they can't use erythritol. They're wondering if they can sub xylitol, and does xylitol affect blood sugar? So maybe kind of explaining, why those are used in keto for people who don't know, and then answering the other part of can they substitute xylitol? So Kathy, go ahead.
Okay, so erythritol and xylitol are what's called sugar alcohols, and they're a special kind of carbohydrate that tastes sweet, but it does not, they don't have the same calories as like a regular sugar would. They have a little bit of a calorie content to them, and they're also not going to increase blood sugar the way a regular sugar would. So a lot of people will use them on diets like this because they're a way to sweeten foods and make them taste good without having a blood sugar spike or without, throwing getting too many carbs. You always want to be careful when you're doing any sugar alcohols, whether it's xylitol or erythritol, because they can draw water into your gut. And basically what that means is that it can just kind of move things through more quickly, can cause some maybe a little bit of GI upset, a little tummy trouble, some loose stools. So you want to always start with a small amount of sugar alcohol, because usually it's like a threshold. So usually people can tolerate a smaller amount, and the more you do, the more likely it is to cause those issues. So you just want to be careful with it that way.
Yes, that's always a great recommendation with anything new. Just start low and go slow. And thanks so much for providing that definition. I think that's definitely helpful for people who maybe haven't used these products before. Dawn, you raised your hand. Did you want to add anything more to that?
I think Kathy covered it really well. I think I just wanted to mention that if you're sensitive to erythritol, you might possibly be sensitive to xylitol too. So just be cautious. They're similar.
Great point. And I think we have time for one more grocery related question. This person lives in Australia, which is awesome. Thanks so much for tuning into our program. They said a lot of recipes mention heavy cream, but most of their thickening cream has emulsifiers in them. So any ideas for them on just avoiding those emulsifiers? I know it takes a moment to think about it. Yeah, go ahead, Dawn.
Emulsifier, like they want to add emulsifiers?
They want to
they're
worried about them. Okay. Yeah, they're worried about them. Yeah.
Yeah, well, full fat coconut milk in the can work as cream, and it doesn't, there's, is it Ancient Forest, or there's a certain coconut?
It's native
There's
forest,
one that,
right?
Native Forest, that's right, yeah. One of them that we have doesn't have any other fillers or guar gums or any other emulsifiers, I don't think. And so that might be one that you use as a creamer.
Yes, and it's really hard to say what's available in Australia, but I think that's definitely a product I definitely lean towards here. I always get that native forest product because it doesn't have the guar gums or emulsifiers or anything like that, and I really love that product, so it might be something to check out. So thanks for adding that. Okay, so we are pretty much out of time this evening, but I just want to end with one final question, which is if you had one tip to give someone first starting out on a keto diet and on this keto journey, what would it be? So Kathy, feel free to go.
Okay, I would say just take it slow, give your body a chance to adjust, do the metabolic reset like we're doing. Start with paleo first and just give yourself the time.
Awesome, thank you. Kim, do you want to go next? Go for it.
Yes, and I'm so glad that Kathy said that because I was debating between two really good points that I had, and that was one of them. So thank you. But I would say the other one, at least for me, that makes it really easy is prepping, right? Meal prepping when we can, making sure that we have those meals ready to go so that we're not tempted to stop off at the drive-through on our way home, right? Taking those meals to work, just being prepared so that we, can be successful and make it easier on ourselves.
Yeah, I love that. I always, not that we're going to the airport a lot now, but I always say never get caught empty-handed at the airport because it can be really hard sometimes to find good options. And then Dawn, did you want to add one last thought?
Sure. One last thing is just really listening to those guidelines and suggestions from week 2 about getting your exercise dialed in, managing stress, and getting good sleep, because having your hormones out of balance can really interfere with your ability to maintain ketosis. And so then you may have to kind of scale back again and start over and address those things. But it's important to really keep those things in mind, the lifestyle factors.
Yes, I would definitely have to agree with that. And then the last thing I would always add is just getting additional support. So I highly recommend, checking out those community support sessions. If you haven't tried them, you can really get that additional assistance and support that you need from like-minded individuals who are trying keto, but also from our nutritional health coaches. So, all right. Well, I think that wraps up our Q&A for this evening. I want to thank Dawn, Kathy, and Kim so much for supporting with our panel tonight. I think everyone just learned lots from you, and you just had so much great information to provide. So thank you. Thank you again to everyone who joined us this evening. Thank you to Dawn for leading week 3 and teaching us all about how to launch into keto and do it the right way. And thanks to Kathy and Kimberly for joining in at the end. Just one last note before we leave, don't forget to join us next Wednesday, February 10th at 5 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Mountain, 7 p.m. Central for week 4, our last week. It's hard to believe we're already there, of our Keto Reset Live class series. Thank you so much. Again, have a great rest of your evening, and we will see you next week.